Hey, everybody, we'll get started here in just a few minutes while we have people enter the room. Hope you guys are all doing great here. You're with Dan and Drew. How you doing today, Drew?
I'm doing fantastic. Hey, Dan, remind me, are we on video or are we just talking heads behind a slide?
We are on video. Yeah.
Oh,
So everybody can see these awesome wasabi sweatshirts here. Exactly. I couldn't resist. As I was getting ready this morning, I'm like, you know what? I think it's a wasabi hoodie day. I mean, hey, we're doing this webinar. Why not, right?
appreciate you, man. Appreciate you.
All right, everybody. So we are here today, of course, with our good friend Drew with Wasabi, and we are going to be talking about the ascent of object storage. And of course, there's the good old debate of whether it's in the cloud or on premise, and it's all that fun stuff, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
We should have beers. This would be so much better if we had some beers to
It would be.
lubricate the debate, right?
I think maybe our attendees would have wanted us to send some beer out to them, right? Now, I will say I drink green tea, and every time I drink my green tea on camera, I always get a comment of, "Are you drinking beer?" So cheers. Let's kick it off. So what we're going to talk about today is with backup and recovery applications like VBR, V12. It's now possible to back up a plethora of applications and endpoint devices directly to secure cloud storage. Ultimately, we're going to talk about the pros and cons to that. And we'll work to prove that it's the most economical, predictable solution in the long run with cloud storage. And everybody, if you do have questions as we go along, please just go ahead and throw them into chat, and we will try to get to all of your questions. So let's kick it off. Here we go.
Fantastic.
You're saying in your slide there.
Well, all right. So thank you for having me. My name is Drew Schlussel. I am the Senior Director of Product Marketing, Technical Product Marketing at Wasabi. I've been working in storage for a long time. So definitely could call myself a subject matter expert, at least in some elements. And what I'd like to do today for our debate. Sorry, Dan?
I said you are a veteran.
I definitely have. I got a few laps around the track, as I like to say.
Yeah.
But I think we got a great topic today. I think we have a great premise for a little bit of good debate, right? And Dan and I are going to play a little red team, blue team today. But let me lay a little bit of groundwork before we get to the dessert, really. So we're talking about object storage. This poor guy. How did we get here, right? What happened? So in the beginning, right, there was block, and it was good. It was primarily interfaced through the operating system, but oh man, it costs a lot of money. And very importantly, the scale was pretty limited. I think there's, you've got all kinds of advances in that technology, but ultimately there's still some pretty severe limitations. And what happened is that this caused a bit of a car crash, if you will, with application developers, right? Not the easiest storage protocol to work with. And these days, I think it's typically reserved for things like databases, although that has changed as well. So what did they do? They, of course, innovated, and we now have file systems. Much easier. We all use them in some way, shape, or form. I mean, these days you just click on folders, but once upon a time you actually had to type in commands and change the directory and mentally map where you had put things. Right. And then
Those were the days.
What?
Those were the days.
Oh man, I still got pretty good command line skills.
Yeah.
But for developers, that was there was still some complication because along came on the 8th day, as I like to say, there was the internet. And there was the web, and there was a new protocol, HTTPS, right? Or HTTP first. And then, of course, we've all standardized on secure HTTP, and another car crash because now web developers were really having a hard time leveraging file systems. So along came object storage. Ta-da! And wow, what an innovation, because now you could access storage through a very simple API. The cost was relatively low compared to anything that had come before it. The performance initially, yes, I think it could be characterized, as a bicycle. These days, I think that has changed significantly. And that is part of why, there is the ascent of object storage. But of course, the beautiful thing here is that the internet is now your playground, so to speak, right? That storage can be located anywhere and accessed from anywhere. I'm on my way to the Far East here in about 24 hours or less. And it kind of boggles my mind that I can actually do work and access my cloud shares, not only from the plane, but of course, or not only from the hotel when I get there, but from the plane as I'm flying there. And it's also made it a lot easier to store images, PDFs, videos. I mean, everything you do on your phone today, for the most part, is being stored in an object store system, right? And that's because the scalability is so massive. So why does object matter to you, to MSPs? Well, I mean, it's easy to scale, right? And this will be part of our debate in a little bit. It's also easy to manage globally, right? Easy to replicate data and put it closer. If you have customers who are trying to either consolidate information from disparate locations or share information to disparate locations, object makes it very easy. It is typically lower cost for a number of reasons. The technology, the fact that it is so much easier to manage, to control, to provision, definitely faster than it used to be, right? That's, I think, the part of the killer innovation. You can stand it up within minutes. And then I think very importantly, because of the security features that have been developed in the object space, you now have object storage qualified for meeting the compliance requirements for state and local government, as well as many other regulatory agencies, as well as industry associations, right? Motion Picture Association being very sensitive to security, especially after the Sony incident. Dan, does this make sense? Am I?
It totally does. I mean, it's just just kind of going through that history, that progression, I should say. With file block to object. Yeah, totally. And there's just the benefits. And of course, we're going to debate some of these. The benefits. I think, for the most part, I mean, you look at it and they're no brainers. But there's some things I'm gonna push back on.
Well, here, I'll give you some ammunition because I'm going to contradict myself right now. Okay. There are a number of things that go against using the cloud. Probably the biggest is that, it can be a very expensive technology to use, or if you use it in such a way that you are accessing it, manipulating those objects quite a bit. A lot of the, let's say, other vendors, not Wasabi, they're going to extract maximum value from you or from your customers. Let me give you a better illustration here after you kind of soak this in. There's a fee problem, okay? These days, a typical hyperscaler storage bill is only about 51% based on the capacity that you're using. The rest, another 48% are usage fees. All right. And nice little graph here to illustrate it. What do those fees look like? Well, the metaphor I like to use is your refrigerator. Bear with me. Imagine you go to Best Buy, great store, and you buy the latest, greatest, most sophisticated refrigerator. You're like, this is fantastic. And it gets delivered and you plug it in and you start to stock the fridge. And you put in some, some cheeses and some meats and some other snacks and some beverages. And the funny thing is, as you open that door, you hear a noise, bing, and you get a little message on your cell phone saying that the stocking fee has been applied to your account. Like, oh, that's weird. Whatever. And then later you sit down to watch the Super Bowl, go Chiefs, and you run to the fridge and you open the door and you grab a beverage and you grab a snack and you hear another ping. And you look at your cell phone and it says, removal fee has been applied to your account. You're like, that's really weird. And then at the end of the month, you actually get a bill that says, not only, did you pay for the refrigerator, right? And you're paying for it on a subscription basis, right? You don't actually technically own the fridge because it's now refrigeration as a service, but there's ingress fees and egress fees for every time you put something in or take something out of your refrigerator. And you would say, you know what, done with this. And you'd wheel that fridge out into the driveway, call them up and say, take it away. And you'd put your old fridge back in place, right? Yeah. That is what's happening in cloud storage today with the hyperscalers. Those are called API fees. And those are called egress fees. And that is 48% of what you're paying to store data in the hyperscaler cloud.
Wow.
All right. That's a lot. I mean,
that definitely gave me some ammunition here.
Yeah, well, I of course I'm saving the counterpunch for later. Here's where your folks, right? Your MSPs, where they can be heroes, because if you can identify those data sets that don't really need to be there in that hyperscaler space, right? Imagine the kind of savings you can produce for your customer migrating to, let's say, Wasabi, where there are no fees, no API fees, no egress fees, just a linear, predictable capacity fee, right? You know exactly what you're going to pay based on exactly how much you store. All right. You can be the hero and you can make money in the process, because 84% of all companies out there have told us that they expect to increase the amount of data that they store in the cloud, and that they're going to increase their budgets for cloud storage. Right. Wasabi, we just commissioned and recently released, I'll show in a moment here, a survey of 1,000 different companies. They didn't know that Wasabi was the one behind the survey. And we set up a set of questions, and this was one of the most telling answers. So if you've been on the fence, adding cloud storage to your line card, to the services that you offer for whatever reason, jump on it. There is a massive opportunity here for you in the marketplace, and Wasabi can help you stand this business up in literally hours and provide you with all the marketing support that you need to go out there and make some money. Let me flash up here the survey that we just put out.
Yeah.
My good friend Andrew Smith was the driving force behind it. He's got a great blog talking about the survey, and no fee. You can have a free copy. You can give one to your friends, your cousins, anybody you like. So Dan, you got your ammo all lined up?
Yeah, I'll say first and foremost, the cost perspective. I look back to, and I'm dating myself here. I look back to when I first got a cell phone, and I'm using my cell phone and I get my first bill and I'm freaking out. I'm 21 years old, my first cell phone, this is just a couple years ago, right?
Oh, and you called everybody. You're like, I'm calling you from the car.
Yeah.
So cool.
Yeah. And people, and of course, mom and dad are like, you better be careful. You're going to get stung. You don't know what that's going to cost you. And it's the whole minute situation, right? You get 100 minutes a month. I mean, think about today. We we probably talk 100 minutes in a day, and so then you get this massive phone bill, and you're like, oh, I don't know if this is the right thing for me. Maybe I just need to go back to my traditional landline and wait to speak to someone when I get home. Like everybody else is doing.
Yeah.
But then the next person starts getting a cell phone, so it becomes more popular, and then the next person, and then you're like, well, this is the direction things are going, but this cost, and I'm still afraid. And let's think about this from our perspective of our managed services clients.
Yep.
We sell predictability of costs to them.
That's
and
right.
So when we have these gets and we have these polls, and I have to go to the client and say, wow, I hate to present this to you, but you're going to have a really large bill this month. I mean, I love that. That's awesome.
Well, and Dan, what you're foreshadowing, right, is the thing I worry about, especially in the context of backup and recovery, because you're already you're already watching your budget as it is. And one of the things that I believe most folks don't do enough of is test their backup data.
Sure.
Run a DR drill and do, even a partial restore of a system, of a database, of a set of files, right? Check the integrity, check your process, right? Practice makes perfect. And the last place that you want to be scrambling to find notes and figuring out how things work is when you're under the gun because there's been an accidental data loss, a malicious data loss, ransomware attack, and your key database has been encrypted out from under you. Okay, that is the worst time to be deciding, do I really have the budget to recover this data? Well, yeah, that's the whole idea why you stored it. Now, and this will segue into, right, our prem versus cloud debate. I will concede right up front, right? On-prem makes perfect sense when speed is paramount, right? Nothing will beat, an all-flash array in the cage that you can recover from.
So you're giving me more ammunition here.
No question. But I have tricks up my sleeve.
Uh-oh.
I've been in storage a long time. I get how that works. Do you think that if you are being attacked, that system is going to be available? And that the data on that system has the full integrity that you expect? I would propose that there's a good chance, very good chance, that if you, we'll take it to the nth degree here, right? We'll be very dramatic. If you've been attacked, one of the first places the attackers will go is your backups. Because
Sure.
By encrypting your backups or deleting your backups, they can extract maximum ransom. They can exert maximum pressure on you to pay them to get your data back, or to at least create the illusion that you'll get your data back. I'll stop there for a moment. I'll let you chime in.
Yeah. I mean, and that's the key thing is, when we take a look at SMB clients, we're pushing things that are, new and, just kind of leading technologies and things that they don't understand. And again, they feel it's more secure because it's in their four walls, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Um, and I will say, as we know, I mean, we have control over that security, but it also means that we have to protect it. And so it's just one of those things that trying to get the client to understand that there's some similarities, but major differences. I think that's where a lot of MSPs are challenged by being able to push some of these new ways, different methods of storage.
Yeah. Well, and that's the good news, right? And that's where I think, to the title, right? The ascent of object. One of the probably the best things that it has ever been done for object protocol is adding the capability of object locking and implementing it in such a way that nobody can mess with it, right? And by nobody, I mean the MSP cannot mess with it. If your application supports object lock and you are writing data to an object storage system and you say, lock this object or series of objects that makes up your backup data set, lock it for a week, a month, right? And by the way, you can extend locks, right? You don't have to worry about, well, if I lock it for a year, I can't do anything with that data. You lock it for a week. And if you need another week, you just have to be diligent about extending that lock, right? That's the smart approach. So you're not creating a capacity nightmare, all right? But once you set that lock, absolutely nobody, even the root user, right, to that object storage system cannot break the lock, right? And that's using the most secure setting for object lock. There is a different setting which gives you a little bit of leeway where root could do some manipulation. Don't use that if you're serious about protecting that data. Use that for objects, documents, files that you need some flexibility or you need some leeway in kind of playing with temporarily locking other people out. But for the most part, stick to the highest level and you have a backup data set that is absolutely secure. Now, someone's going to say, well, what if I backed up a virus as part of my backup data set? Sure, of course, that happens. But there's also technology out there that will scrub that data as you recover it to make sure that it removes that in the recovery process. Because odds are, look, we all have, it's not a matter of if you're going to be attacked, it's a matter of when.
Right.
And now if you keep up with NIST and CISA, right, they talk about resilience and how do you enhance the resilience of your data protection approach, because there is no absolute. I'm dominating the conversation, Dan. I'm sorry.
No, you're good. And, I think the other thing that many of our clients and, SMB clients are concerned about, and, and I hate to, make it sound like SMB is not, it's not with it, not accepting, not adopting, not willing to go outside of their comfort zone, but a lot of times they are. And so, I think one of the big concerns is going to be compliance. Many clients feel as if, well, if I have it in my control, I can do a better job. Making sure that we're compliant versus, some cloud service provider. I think that's a challenge at trying to get them to think differently.
Yeah. Look, change is hard and it's not easy. There's always the exercise, right, of balancing the risk and reward. I'm here to tell you that cloud in and of itself can be, mitigated in terms of risk. And if you are serious about, and I think what we didn't talk about, and I think the compromise here is, look, having on-prem systems makes perfect sense. It's your fastest recovery. Yes, there's risk about that system being compromised, but you back that up with a copy, an immutable copy, an object lock copy in the cloud. You are really well positioned. You're not adding that much additional cost to the overall operation, especially when you're using Wasabi, because you're not going to pay through the nose just to get data back if, for whatever reason, your on-prem data has some issues, been compromised, encrypted, what have you, right? So the layered approach, right, the defense in depth approach tells you that, or the 3-2-1 rule, I think everyone's familiar with, right? Having an air-gapped immutable copy in the cloud really provides you with, I think, the highest level of resilience, the highest level of mitigation, if anything were to happen to your on-prem systems. Does that make sense?
Yeah. And so I think where we have to help our clients to understand is that, we're talking about a technology, we're talking about a provider that very similar to us giving up control of Exchange, Microsoft Exchange, and, pushing that to the cloud where, here we are, we're IT service providers, right? We're taking something that we said for years and years. We've told our clients, we can manage your email,
Right.
And of course, there, with the advent of hosted exchange providers out there, there was this big shift in thought process. And what are we telling our clients? Yes, we are an IT company. Yes, we could manage this, but there are things that we could do differently. We could repurpose that time when you have a provider that can manage it and probably do a much better job in managing that, keeping it more secure, and also being more compliant. So I think that's a huge challenge, and it's just something that we are in the midst of educating and continuing to educate our clients of the direction that the world's going, the direction that SMBs are taking. And it is a paradigm shift, but so was the whole idea of moving our email to the cloud, moving it to a cloud service provider. So I know it can be done.
Yep. Yeah, and I mean, there's some additional benefits, and so I think I don't think there's necessarily a winner or a loser in this debate. I think it's really great. It's good food for thought.
Right. I wanted to throw out one other thing too that I think that clients do get hung up on is, well, if we move this data to the cloud, what happens if we lose our internet connection? And they're stuck on that if we lose our internet, then we have no access to it. Whereas if it was on premise, we could access it.
Mm-hmm.
I think the key there is, again, I mean, if you lose your internet connection, you might as well just say you lost your power, right?
Yeah, if you lost your internet connection, you're not going to be able to get into the console to do anything anyway.
Right.
It cuts both ways.
Yeah.
Yes, you can't access your cloud services, but nobody can access you. So that's a much, the same thing goes for, well, the cloud's too slow, right? If I put my data in the cloud and I need to bring it back, so much slower than the on-prem. Yes, you're absolutely right. But in the case where, again, overly dramatic, but in the case where on-prem is sidelined, okay, you have a much bigger problem. And that
Right.
is, do I have a current, current immutable copy of all my critical databases, filers, virtual machines, all the configurations, et cetera, that I can stand up either back in my space or perhaps in another space or in the cloud. And at that point, I don't think you're as worried about the speed of restoring as in, can I restore?
Right.
Right. And in which case, you can also, take steps to mitigate that. There are direct connections, there are acceleration capabilities, but let's be honest, right? You're probably just wondering, can I get my business back up and running, period.
Yeah. So, Drew, let me ask you this. We talked about some of the, the pros and cons, and, of course, we have to overcome and work with our clients to overcome any cons. And when I say cons, I think it's more cons in their mindset, right?
Yeah.
Because they could be overcome. And I know you have more up your sleeve as far as how Wasabi can help overcome those with our clients. And I hope you have more for us to help from that perspective.
Well, what do you know? It's like we rehearsed this or something. Yeah. So let's move on. Let me talk about how Wasabi can help you, right? So we definitely were focusing on object today. That is what Wasabi does for a living, right? And I think this is important, right? We are a hot cloud object storage as a service company, right? We do one thing, we do it exceptionally well. We have many, many ways to utilize this storage. We'll talk about that in a moment. But being a pure play really helps us focus on innovation in this space, right? We don't have grocery stores. We don't make movies, although that'd be kind of fun. We are just storage, and we're really proud of it.
What are you getting at here, Drew? What are you getting at?
I don't know. I don't know. I don't have a mega yacht either, or 2 mega yachts, but then again, I live in Colorado. I wouldn't know where to park.
Yeah.
So here's what we can help you with, right? We can help you with price. We can help you with performance. We can help you with protection and with partnerships. All right. We are significantly lower cost than the hyperscalers. Again, that fee structure is the killer. And it's also an X factor because you never know when you're going to have to utilize, an extreme amount of downloads, let's say, and all of a sudden you're faced with a massive bill. During COVID, we heard many horror stories, especially in the healthcare space, where they needed a lot of archive data sets, and they thought they were getting a screaming deal by parking them in these, let's say, very cold tiers. Well, those very cold tiers have the absolute highest egress costs, multiple times more than the standard storage egress costs. And there's a delay. It takes hours to get the first bite of those data sets. Wasabi's always hot, always ready. You can get that first bite in milliseconds, right? And that speaks to our performance. And then, of course, we've been talking about protection a lot here, right? In terms of, we have account security, we have redundancies in our data centers, high durability, and of course, it's about providing that immutability. Talking about partnerships, click. We work with just about everybody out there in terms of applications. Great partnerships in the backup and recovery space, great partnerships in archiving, media workflows, video surveillance. Chances are you're already working with these partners, and we've already validated and qualified Wasabi as part of their solution. As evidence of that, there's a new version of Veeam V12 coming out just in time for Valentine's Day. What a great present. And to Veeam's credit, they have added Wasabi, as a named cloud service in their object storage dropdown. It's a little small there. I should blow that up some more. But more importantly, I think for your audience, right, if you are leveraging, Veeam's applications, or you're even, considering, getting on board with them as a VCSP, there's some great upside now in this new version. In addition to making object storage a first-class citizen, a primary storage target, right? You can bypass on-prem systems if you want to do that. And of course, you would put it in multiple buckets in multiple regions for redundancy. You can now also do NAS backups direct to object with immutability. So you can back up, that little NAS box sitting on your desk that you've been wondering, what happens if that thing blows up?
Right.
And they're also bringing endpoint backup into the picture. So if you are looking to expand your backup services, you want to help customers back up their laptops, like Linux boxes, Mac, Windows boxes, right? You can leverage this for that all in one pane of glass to manage. So
And
pretty cool stuff.
That really is amazing. I mean, the number of partners that you guys integrate with, that gives us as MSPs, first and foremost, a strong partnership with a hot cloud storage provider that is very affordable, but it doesn't mean we're stuck with, one type of a backup tool.
Yep.
There's just a plethora of options for us, right?
That's my favorite word. I love that word. Now, even more exciting is just announced yesterday, Wasabi Surveillance Cloud. And boy, if you are looking for some way to go out and make some more money this year, all right, this is it. All right. Guarantee you that the people watching this live, watching this on replay, your customers have, depending on the size, right, they have surveillance video in play. Okay. Especially if you're working with state and local government, agencies, hospitals, police stations, right? What we've done is we've pre-integrated our cloud storage service with a file to object bridge.
Oh, wow.
That's been the missing piece this whole time. Most of the video management systems will record to local NTFS file systems, but had no way of, either duplicating that footage or, at a certain capacity point, kind of tiering that off to the cloud. We fixed that. We're supporting,
that's huge.
Yeah, we're supporting like 24 different VMS systems. And, the price is right. Right. We've bundled it together so that you're getting a better price for the bridge and the cloud services together, pay as you go, right? Pay as you grow, versus if you went out and bought the bridge and also did the cloud storage separately. So
I will say that that's so significant because, key thing that you said was low cost. And I think that's where the challenge is for most organizations is the cost associated with keeping long-term storage of video. And, I think what I've seen a lot is business owners, business leaders will sacrifice how long they keep that storage because they know the longer, the more they keep, the more it's going to cost. And so they say, okay, let's only go back, 3 months. Let's only go back, 30 days. And when they need it most, they don't have it. And so being a very affordable solution helps with that problem, that gap that they're faced with.
Police, fire, EMTs, right? Everybody's got a body cam now. Yeah. And most of that body cam footage has to be retained for 7+ years. Think about how many generations of hardware you could burn through, right? In 7+ years. And the nightmare of migrating between generations of hardware. Boy, wouldn't it be nice if you just had, an everlasting cloud to drop that video footage into, predictable price all the way through. You can also lock the price in. That's something else that as your customers can do. They can sign up as resellers. They can resell it at fixed intervals, 25, 50 terabytes, and make a very tidy profit.
Nice.
To go with this, we're doing a lot of work in the media and entertainment space. Lots of opportunity for archiving, active archiving. We're working with Legendary Pictures, Boston Red Sox, Liverpool Football Club, right there on my hat. And that goes part and parcel with remote collaboration, right? A lot of video workflows now are done in a completely disparate architecture, right? One shop on one coast is doing the sound, one shop on another coast is doing, color correction. They don't all have to be in the same room working off the same NAS box, right? It can all be done through the cloud, through our application partners.
Yeah,
And then
growing up, we
sorry.
always, just growing up, going through high school and college, there was always the whole push of international business. You need to focus on, your education on international business, because you're gonna be doing business with people all over the world. And while that did happen, it's happening in a much different way, because, like you said, the collaboration component of it, it's not just us selling something to someone outside of our country. It's working together and collaborating, and having the accessibility of the data and documents that we are collaborating with.
Yeah, gone are the days of packing a Super 8 tape into a FedEx box and sending
Right.
that thing coast to coast overnight. All right, so let's. I know we've got a very tight set of participants today, but I want to make sure we have time for questions. One last thing, and I've said this before. I will continue to say this every time I have the opportunity. And thank you for having me. Data has gravity. All right. If you are offering to manage your client's data, and that data, of course, is going to inevitably grow year in and year out. That becomes the foundation of creating customer for life, because it is a giant pain to move data. So do a good job, hook your clients up with the best cloud storage they could possibly get. Okay, thank you. And you will endear yourself to them. They will stick with you through thick and thin. So I'll throw up the billboard. But any questions out there? Anybody want to know more?
Yeah, I know Carrie's out there. Carrie usually always has a question for us, so we'll give him a second. See if we get a question out of Carrie.
So while we're waiting for that, I'll tell you this. Signing up with Wasabi is like buying a coffee at Starbucks. It's completely painless. You can basically become a Wasabi partner in a matter of minutes, signing up through the portal, and you can be selling Wasabi storage, within hours. The other nice thing is we have a very deep set of marketing materials that can be branded, for you, with you, and you can be out there, making some money right off the bat. Or, you don't have to necessarily make the money, but you certainly can, be leveraging the cost advantage to free up some budget for other things that you want to sell into those accounts, right? We do this all the time with our backup partners, right? They bring Wasabi in and we provide relief to the budget because of the predictable cost structure. And, we'd love to work with you, right? We have thousands upon thousands of partners. And, I think right now we're at like a 4.99 star rating. I think one person gave us a 4, right? Pulled our average down. But CRN top 100 cloud companies for 23. Lots of great feedback from the market. We'll be doing the tour this year, right? Hitting all the CRN events, at Robin Robbins boot camp events. If you want to meet some of the folks live, if you're looking to connect with somebody regionally, we've recently rolled out our regional breakdown. So we've got folks in every region that you can work with, and would love to connect.
One thing that, one theme that in every one of our calls that I love that you bring up is the whole customers for life component. And, we all know that it's so much less expensive to keep that customer
Yep.
than to try to acquire a new customer. And if you put your time, energy, and passion into taking care of the clients you have, then you'll continue to grow that business, not only through their growth, but also by them referring you to others. And, just that whole circle component. And, you mentioned do one thing and do one thing well. Now, for us as MSPs, there's a lot of things that we're supporting. We're
Right.
there, so the key is finding a vendor such as Wasabi that does one thing very well and leverage that. And having those vendors that do one thing very well helps us do one thing very well, which is providing a variety of technology solutions to them. So I just love that theme. I appreciate you bringing that up each time.
Well, and I think that's the allure, right, of Wasabi for an MSP, is that having a predictable, reliable cloud storage service, boy, that takes away a lot of worry, I think, right? That takes away, that lets you focus on the other things. I think, and this is just an observation, but you want to grow your business, but it's probably a struggle because you have to deal with fires every day, right? Every day is a firefight in some respect.
Right.
That's part of what you get paid for. But boy, wouldn't it be great to be able to just kind of put one thing, have at least one thing is not going to break on you today, right? So that it's one less thing to worry about. You can then put a few more cycles into, going out and either cross-selling your services to the existing customer base that love you, or looking for those referrals and getting that new business.
And our conversations and often on our MSP discussion group calls, we talk about the shift of moving away from blinky lights to business conversations, being with our clients, business owner to business owner, business leader to business leader, and having a discussion with them about their business, their workflows, where are their bottlenecks? And the more that we can reallocate our time, repurpose our time to things that will help them excel, the better, because we can say, let's not worry about, something on-prem just because that's always how we've done it. Let's look at things that are going to be more efficient, more affordable. And this then allows us to say, okay, we've got this covered, Mr. Business Owner, Mr. Business Leader, how can I help you take your business forward by using technology? And just having those conversations, because when you have those business conversations, the attention of those that you're in front of is so much stronger. It changes versus having blinky light conversations where they're deer in the headlights and they're just like, you're just here to sell me something. I don't understand what you're talking about. Let's get this meeting done so I can get back to business. We want to help them with their business. We want to help them.
And I think that's what makes Wasabi different, right? You are walking in, maybe storage isn't the primary part of the conversation, but you have something that is going to cut their costs for cloud storage in half.
Right.
Immediately. Oh, and by the way, we also have full migration service capabilities. We can help move terabytes, petabytes of data for you at an exceptionally reasonable cost. All right.
Yep.
But you are literally walking in. How many times, right, does somebody come to you with an offer that says, I'm going to cut your costs in half today?
Right.
I have yet to have anybody show up at my door and tell me they're going to cut my electricity cost in half. They're going to cut my natural gas cost in half, right? My kids' tuition cost in half. Boy, I'd love to have that conversation.
Right.
I would love it. Yeah. Come on in. Let me make you a cup of coffee.
Exactly.
Right. So Oh, this has
Yeah.
been great, Dan. Appreciate
Yeah.
it always.
Yeah, it looks like we're good with questions. Yeah, thank you for being here as always. I always love chatting with you and having you share your knowledge and also just we appreciate your passion in the channel. So with that being said, once again, thank you, Drew. Thank you, everybody that joined us today. Hope you guys all have a great day, and we will talk to you guys soon. Take care.
Take care.